Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people truly believe they're the center of the universe and no one else matters. And in today's episode, it's all about entitled dads, guys. And oh boy, are some of them psycho. We've got dads demanding thousands of dollars from their kids, throwing tantrums in restaurants. One dad thinks he owns his daughter's uterus. It's wild. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories today. Don't shake your heads too hard. And as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So last weekend, a group of us went out to dinner. My best friend invited her dad and stepmom to come with us, as they happened to be in town visiting. Her dad is like mega rich, but honestly, he's pretty annoying. You'll soon see why. There was 6 of us total. We got to the restaurant and we didn't realize they were closing early. It's our fault for not calling to reserve a spot. If we had done that, we would have known they were closing early. But it was no big deal to us, and we decided to go grab some food from the store and go back to the house and barbecue, which is more our style anyways. Well, my friend's dad throws the biggest tantrum in the restaurant. He kept telling the owner over and over again to stay open 2 hours past closing, and he would pay them whatever they wanted to stay open. Her dad even pulls out a $100 bill, and the guy kept wagging it in the manager's face. And he kept saying, "You won't take $100? Just tell the owner to keep the place open for us." It was so embarrassing. When the owner refused, my friend's dad then went on and he made a huge scene, telling them how rich he is, how much money he was willing to spend there, and that they were losing customers and that none of us would ever come back, which isn't true at all. I actually messaged them on social media to tell them that we would absolutely be back and how much we love the place. The rest of the night, he bitched about it, and it just got worse the more he drank. He wouldn't stop talking how the restaurant owner thought he was too good for paying customers and was even about to drive back there to a closed place to give him a piece of his mind. Apparently he's done this before, and I'm never going out to dinner with him again. LOL, I'm with OP on this one. Like, that would be super annoying and embarrassing to be with a person like that. And the fact that the dad thought the owner would keep the place open for them and then proceeded to tell them how rich he is and how much money he was going to spend is super cringe and laughable. Like, yeah, you may be a paying customer and you might be rich and all, but unless dad's there every single day and he spends hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month at that place, they probably don't give a care in the world if he never came back. And at that point, they might even be happy to know he won't ever come back. And this person shares their similar restaurant situation. And they say, "I'm a hostess at this outdoor beer garden. We're open to families during the day, but in the evening, everything becomes 21 plus. One day, a couple came in to eat with their toddler for lunch, who was screaming and crying before they even walked in. As the hosting team, we made sure to seat the family at a low-top table, with seats with backs to accommodate their child because we're nice and thoughtful hostesses. Apparently, the couple let their child run around the restaurant and made a mess with the gravel on the ground. It got so bad that at one point, the bouncer asked the couple to please keep their child seated. He even referenced the signs on the wall stating, "Children must stay seated." Naturally, the couple gets angry and they decide to leave. On their way out, they march around to the hosting table and the dad starts berating us. The guy says to me, "Hey, I think you guys did a great job as hostesses. You were nice and all, but I have one suggestion. Just a single suggestion. We came to this restaurant because it's kid-friendly, and we just wanted to have a good time. We were even going to spend a good chunk of money here. But that man told us that our kid can't run around and have fun. How's a kid supposed to stay seated in a place like this that's made for kids to run around?" Hearing that, myself and the other hosts were confused. He then goes on and says, "You should have told us beforehand that our child wouldn't be able to run around. My suggestion to you is when you see that someone has a child, you need to inform them of the rules before seating them. I'm just trying to make a suggestion for you guys to help you do a better job next time, because our experience was ruined and that's why we decided to leave. And just like that, the man walks away and the three of us were left confused and pissed off. Like, 1, I think I know how to do my job. It's not my fault you can't control your child in public. 2, this is a bar, it's not exactly family friendly. And 3, it's also not my fault that you're so insecure as a grown man that you have to take out your anger on 3 19-year-olds because the big scary bouncer told you to control your kid. Yeah, like, I don't know what restaurant establishment does allow kids to run around wild like that. Like, with servers carrying hot food and drinks around, it's never a good idea to just let your kid run loose. Not to mention that if they're out of sight, they could even leave the restaurant, or even worse, some person might be like, hey kid, let's come this way to my car. But yeah, parents for sure need to do better and not blame the hostess. Like, how ridiculous was that situation? So here's a bit of a backstory. My husband and I both work from home with fully remote jobs. We have a 3-bedroom house. 1 room is our bedroom, 1 is my husband's office, and the other room is my office. Other than that, we have a couple of bathrooms, a living room, and a kitchen, none of which I care to turn into an office. This is relevant later. That said, every day, starting at about 3:30, a group of kids play in the streets in front of my house. They live on either end of the street, and none of them reside in any of the houses they play in front of. Multiple times, they'll go onto my property and they'll start playing hide and seek around my front bushes and on my front porch. I've asked them to keep it down or play elsewhere, as they're really loud and distracting. They literally just scream at the top of their lungs sometimes. And here's the thing. I don't ask them to move or keep it down every day, just days where they're extra loud, as I do understand they're kids. I also never cuss or berate them. I simply ask them to keep it down in a polite manner because, after all, they're just kids. Well, one day last week, this one boy had a soccer ball and the kid kept kicking it at the front of my house. It would bounce back and he would kick it again and again and again. The thud was so loud that I called out the window asking him to stop, to please keep it down. It did stop for a bit, and then it starts up again, and this time, the thumping was even louder. Once again, I asked him to keep it down. It went away for about 10 minutes, but that's when the entitled dad comes waddling over. And that's where the story starts. The entitled dad comes and rings the doorbell, and he proceeds to beat on my front door. And this isn't the first time he's come to justify his kid's behavior. I refuse to answer the door, and I speak to him on the doorbell camera. The entitled dad says, "Is there a problem?" I respond and say, "Yes, sir. I continually have to ask your kids to keep it down, and your son just kept kicking his soccer ball at my house. We work from home, and it's incredibly distracting. Can they play in front of your house instead of mine?" At that, he responds, "Well, I work from home too." To which I say, "Okay, great. So can they play in front of your house so you have to listen to them?" He responds, "Don't you ever speak to my kid again, or it'll be the last thing you do." Now, I wasn't a fan of him getting outright hostile at me and threatening me. So I tell him, "Okay, I need you to get off my property right now, or I'm calling the cops, and you need to tell your son to stay off my grass." He just tells me, "You'd better not speak to my children again. You will regret it." I tell him I wouldn't have to if they played in front of your house, so you have to listen to them, not me. Once again, I work from home and it's incredibly distracting when they're screaming at the top of their lungs. You're now trespassing on my property and I've asked you to leave already. Do I need to call the cops? It's at this point he says to me, "Why don't you go into your office to work instead? They won't bother you if you're not home." I tell him we're both 100% remote. We don't have an office we can go into. He then says to me, "Then you should move your office to the back of your house." At this point I tell him, "Listen, please leave now or I'm calling the cops. I won't warn you again." We go back and forth, with him threatening that if I speak to his kids again, it'll be the last thing I do, and that I don't want to test him. I assume his kids exaggerated their story when they told him. I demand he leave my property or I'm calling the cops. The guy then went and he stood on the sidewalk, flipping me off, continuing with his threats. Like, who the F do you think you are, demanding I rearrange my house or even leave my house to work, when the solution is you need to parent your kids and teach them to be respectful of people's property and to stay out of my yard and to keep it down. Not to mention, we have a neighborhood park just down the street. Anyhow, I just needed to get that off my chest, and I thought your kind listeners might enjoy my tale. Yeah, in my opinion, OP needs to send a kid to that guy's place to start thumping a ball against his house, see how he likes it. And my guess is he won't, because with entitled folk like him, it's always so one-sided, isn't it? Like rules for the not me. But yeah, the audacity of him to come to OP's house and tell her and her husband to leave their home so his son can keep kicking a ball against their house undisturbed. Like, are you kidding me? So my sister was in a very abusive relationship for 6 years. She was manipulated by her ex-husband and she was controlled when it came to everything, and she didn't have enough self-esteem to stop the abuse. She didn't even think it was abuse until things got really ugly. The marriage ended last month, and now she's in much better shape and she's headed towards a better life. After the breakup, my sister reunites the family to tell us about it, and this is when the entitlement took place. At the dinner table, my sister makes the announcement, and this is how the conversation went. My sister says, "So everyone, I have important news. I broke up with my ex-husband last month." At that, my dad says, "What? Why? What happened? I loved that guy." My sister then proceeds to tell the story of a 6 years abusive relationship. And my dad responds, "Well, okay, so he's not gonna be around anymore? What about me? What about my grandchild you said you were trying for? You just left him?" My sister responds, "What do you mean, Dad?" My dad says, "Well, you still have to give me a grandson. You're 33 years old. You won't be able to bear healthy children much longer. If you leave him, you have to start over. And by the time you find a new guy, who knows, you might be 40, and your chances of having a kid are long gone. Just work it out with him." My sister says, "Dad, how can you say something like that to me? I've been through hell and back, and all you can think about is your grandchild that doesn't even exist." Dad just goes on and says, "So there's no way you can make it work with him? Have you tried couples counseling? And you're absolutely sure you're leaving him because, you know, when women get older, they..." My sister stops him right there and says, "Dad, I'm not having a child with him. He's not a good person. I need to find the right man, one that will love me and our child." Dad responds, "Well, you'd better do that soon because I'm tired of waiting. I swear, both you and your brother are the most ungrateful kids I could have been cursed with. Your brother refuses to get married, and now you're leaving your husband of 6 years? Listen, just have a baby because you never know, a baby might." Once again, sister stops him right there and says, "You can't make me have a child, Dad. It's my body. I'll have a child when I want, not when you want." The fight got really ugly from that point on. I backed up my sister the entire time, and we end up storming out of the house, not even finishing dinner. It's been well over a month, and both of us haven't talked to our parents since that event. My dad is such a horrible and selfish person. I'm just happy that my sister's better, and now she has a chance to find the right person for her. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that I hope when that day comes and sister does have kids, that dad won't be allowed anywhere near them because dad's something else, guys. Like, clearly he doesn't care about his own children. Like, for sure, a lot of dads out there who upon hearing about their daughters getting mistreated would see red. But in this case, no, stay, don't leave him. So what he's abusive, so what he mistreats you and is a crappy husband. Just make a child with him because I want a grandchild. As if the grandparents have any claim on the kids that may or may not come along, right? And guys, if you think that dad was entitled, it doesn't get any better from here. Listen to this next post. So this happened well over a decade ago. When I was in my last year of university, my parents divorced. And for many reasons, which included my father being psychologically abusive, I decided to side with my mom and live with her. Of course, Dad wasn't happy that I favored Mom, so he decided to get vindictive and he tried to take a lot of assets, including the house that my mother bought completely on her own. It got to be a pretty messy divorce. Dad just quit talking to me one day. He found a new wife and he just left, telling me that his stepsons were the kids he always wanted, instead of a geeky nerd like me, as I was going to school to be an IT engineer. Once I graduated, I got a scholarship for an MBA in Italy, where I temporarily moved to finish my education. After finishing, I moved back home, and I got a great position with a well-established IT company. My job was paying me well into six figures, which allowed me to buy a nice new car, a new house, and have a great life in general. Well, I guess my father found out how well I was doing in life at this point, because he starts to send me messages through Facebook, which I ignored and then blocked his account. He then managed to get my phone number from one of my cousins, whom I still talk to, and he starts calling me, telling me how he lost his job, he's behind on mortgage payments, has several thousands of dollars in debt, basically telling me that I have to give him money. I just told him, sorry, but I won't do that. That's when he flips like a switch, telling me that I owe him this, and that I have to be a better person, and that he always loved me, and I was the one who turned my back on him when I chose my mother. And it is funny how he never treated me well until I started making money. I again told him to F off and to not contact me ever again. And the worst part was when my dad went to my mom's house and he started breaking the windows because she didn't agree to tell me to give him what he wants. We just went to the police and we got a restraining order. It's been well over 10 years now and we haven't heard from him since. Thankfully, right? Because Psycho Dad could have taken it to a whole different level if he wanted to. And I'm just glad to know that OP recognized that they didn't owe their father a single dime and told that man to F off. Like, it's just so mind-boggling when parents essentially disown their kids and then come crawling back when their kids make something of themselves and has money now. Like, you know for a fact that if OP wasn't making good money, Dad never would have contacted him, right? Like, what a piece of crap move that was. Oh, you remember when I ghosted you and then talked bad about you and tried to ruin your mom's life? Well, let's just forget about that. I need you to help pay my bills and give me money. I would have told him to pester the sons he's always wanted for money because you ain't my problem. Here's some backstory. So about 4 years ago, I bought a bike for my brother for his birthday, as he wanted to get into mountain biking, which is what I do. It was a good bike that was a little over $1,000. Well, about a year after that, my brother, who never rode his bike, decided that I could have his bike and use it as a backup if needed. That said, my entitled father has always wanted the best of everything, even if he couldn't afford it. The guy couldn't just have a regular TV. He needed a $2,000 OLED TV with a Wi-Fi connection and all the bells and whistles. Now, we weren't rich at all, but the man just loved to spend money he didn't have. Also, my father hasn't had a job since 2011, and he's got crippling debt. On top of that, my father refuses to go to the doctors to treat his diabetes and blood pressure issues, because he believes that all the doctors want to do is to make him think that he's more sick than he is, while draining all of his money. Anyways, recently, my father's gotten the idea into his head that all he needs to do to feel better is to start exercising again. Now, while this isn't the worst idea in the world, he's far beyond the point where only exercise can fix his problems. The guy can't even walk in a straight line or stand for more than 20 minutes without getting lightheaded. He's also dealing with kidney failure and he needs weekly dialysis. He's in no shape to be riding a bike, but that didn't stop him from coming to my house one day. The following conversation happened. My father comes over and says, "Hey, so I'm just gonna need you to give me one of your bikes. You have 2 bikes, so I was thinking that I could have it to ride around this summer. It would really help me feel better." Now, I've actually lent my bikes out to friends before, as we live in a small town. And honestly, you don't need a car to get from place to place, so most of us just ride on bikes in the summer to save gas. But this man was so sick and overweight that he was leaning on the doorframe just to talk to me. I wasn't about to have him riding one of my bikes and crashing it and getting himself and my bike hurt. So I respond, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that, as my bikes are a lot of money, Dad. Maybe we could get you one of those bikes from Walmart to start. Dad says to me, but I don't want one of those bikes from there. They're garbage and they'll break so fast. Yours are actually meant for professional riders, so give me the one your brother isn't using. I tell him, well, I don't feel comfortable with you on one of my bikes. He just says, that one bike isn't even yours anyways. You bought it for your brother, and he didn't want his, so surely you don't need both. Give me one. At this point, my father's red in the face, and he starts yelling how I'm so ungrateful and how he never gets to exercise, and that I'll be the one responsible when his health gets even worse, and when he dies, it'll all be my fault for not giving him a bike to exercise. Eventually, he calls my mom, and I kid you not. He goes to my mom like a toddler who's had his toy car stolen, and he says that I'm refusing to give him my bike, and then says if he dies, it's all because of me. My mom, as if she could read my mind, says, why don't we just go get you a cheap bike to ride? You only need it to ride around the neighborhood. And this made him go ballistic, and he starts throwing a fit how we all have good bikes except for him. And that's true, my mom has a decent bike. We then point out that we both like to go trail riding and we ride around town, while he only wants to ride around the neighborhood, and she doesn't even know if he can ride a bike. He then said it shouldn't matter and that he has a right to have a decent bike. Eventually, my mom relented, and off to the store they went to spend money that they don't have on a new bike just because Dad wanted it. And the thing is, my dad didn't even use it. They returned it a week later. Yeah, we all saw that from a mile away, right? And I'm pretty sure that mom enabling Dad isn't helping the situation at all whatsoever. But seriously, it's gotta be so hard, especially when Dad's always pulling the, if you don't give me what I want and I die, it'll all be on you card. So I'm a 34-year-old female, and I live with my husband, who's 37, and daughter, who's 7. My daughter and I recently went on a short trip out of state, while my husband stayed, as he had work and was supposed to look after the dog. On the last day of our trip, we get a call from my husband, who was acting distraught, and he said that our dog Ellie had run away and he can't find her. He claimed that she just bolted away from him in the park into some bushes and he can't find her. Now, our dog is quite small. She's a mini poodle mix and she's almost 13 years old. She's still active, but it's really unlike her to run away from us, and I was really suspicious. But I chose to believe my husband, and me and my daughter were in grief, and we didn't want to blame him. When we came back home, he seemed surprisingly okay, unlike us. Ever since our dog got older and health issues arose, my husband's always been annoyed at how much attention we give Ellie. And he hated how Ellie always begged to sit on our laps and his while he worked. A few days later, we get a call from an animal rescue in a neighboring state, quite far from us, that she had been found. I told my husband the news, and he just said, "That's great, I'm so happy." But it did feel kind of blunt and insincere. I said it's strange that she got so far, and he responded that somebody must have stolen her and then abandoned her. This made little sense to me as to why this would happen. I found it to be very suspicious. So when he was out drinking with his buddies, I copied the videos from his dash cams for the days I was away, and I saw that he had indeed taken Ellie far out of state, and then clearly dropped her in front of his car and then thrown a frisbee-like object into a field. He then yelled "fetch" and then drove off without her. I was livid, and I confronted him, and he just stupidly muttered how he dropped her off there so she could find a farm and live a better life. And then he got really angry at me for viewing his dash cam, and he called me and my daughter a-holes in this situation, So am I the a-hole here? Yeah, in my opinion, I don't think OP's the a-hole at all, guys. And everyone seems to agree that the husband needs to go. Like, you just abandoned your dog in a different state, who knows how many miles from home, and then you have the audacity to get mad when you're caught. All because you think your wife should have never looked through the dash cam footage. Guys, I think OP should leave her husband in a different state, and don't forget to throw the wedding band and yell fetch. And I know that a lot of people are often so quick to suggest you gotta leave that person, but in this case, like, how do you recover from this? Like, your spouse just got rid of a family member out of jealousy or spite, I don't know, and then told the biggest lie ever and was caught. Guys, let me know what you would do if you're in OP's situation. This person comments, OP would only be an a-hole if she leaves him alone with that dog again. He didn't drop it off at a shelter. He left a senior dog alone to starve or die of exposure. A dog who clearly loved and trusted him. This person says, I don't know where they live, but small dogs are also in danger of being killed and eaten by wild animals. He knew that his wife and his girl loved that dog, and to do that is abusive and very cruel, both to the dog and to his wife and daughter. And the top comment of this post with over 22,000 upvotes says, you are not the a-hole. You had a gut feeling and you were absolutely right. This is horrible. What your husband did is sick and cruel. He left an innocent animal to die. Obviously, what you do now is up to you, but if it were me, I would never be able to trust him again. The entire relationship would be ruined. He needs to seek therapy if he's so insecure that he's jealous of a dog. Pathetic excuse for a man. Again, guys, leave your thoughts. Who's kicking your spouse to the curb and who's staying? And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's in our /malicious compliance episode, where bad bosses are getting absolutely destroyed by their employees. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.